So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to make eggless Swiss Meringue Buttercream. So I have Aquafaba here. I like to use the canned chickpea and then drain it to use the Aquafaba. You could also make it in your home, but then we have to be sure about how thick the consistency of the Aquafaba is, and we can't have it like extremely in the water stage when you're just going to do it at home. We need to kind of reduce it as much and then have the thicker version of the Aquafaba, and that is when we have the right amount of protein for it to whip up. And but then to initially start with, I suggest to use the canned chickpea for making the eggless Swiss Meringue Buttercream. Okay, and then I have the butter and sugar, and then there's vanilla as well. So we are just going to have the Aquafaba and the sugar, double boil it, and until we have the sugar fully dissolved with the Aquafaba, and then it is just getting up warm. I'm just going to do a touch and feel method where I'm just going to show you when the Aquafaba and the sugar double boil is done, and then after that stage we will just shift it to the bowl of the electric mixer and then beat it until we have the meringue formed. And once the meringue is formed and that in room temperature, and then you're going to start adding the butter. So the butter has to be firm, even if you just cut them into cubes, and then it needs to be going into the refrigerator. So you can see it is like not very rock hard, but then it is not very soft as well. So in case you just have the butter cut and prepared ahead of time, then you just need to also keep it in the fridge for some time to make it firm before we are adding it onto the meringue. So I'm just going to, so this saucepan is with 1 inch of about water, and then it is boiling already. So I'm just going to place another bowl on top, and then I'm going to add the Aquafaba and sugar. I'm just going to start mixing it up and let the sugar fully dissolve with the Aquafaba. So you want the sugar to dissolve in the Aquafaba solution, and also you want the mixture, the Aquafaba and the sugar, to just heat up a bit. It is like there's no heat at all. I'm just going to have a towel handy, and I'm just going to keep mixing this up until the mixture of Aquafaba and the sugar warms up a bit to the touch of your finger. I'm just going to touch, and while it is warm, I just need to touch it here on my wrist, and if my wrist can feel the warmth, then it is good to go. So I'm just having the inside of the Aquafaba and the sugar mixture. I just touched with my fingers when it is warm, and then I just put it back in my wrist, and then if I can feel the same warmth in my wrist, then the Aquafaba and the sugar mixture is just good to go. And now I have the bowl of the KitchenAid fitted with the wire whisk, and into this I'm just going to pour the contents of the Aquafaba and the sugar that's been dissolved and warmed up. And now I'm just going to beat on medium-high speed until I have the meringue formed, and that is going to take about 4 to 5 minutes on medium-high speed. It's just in the midway. You can see it is kind of in a flowy consistency, but you can see how it is changing from what we added from the bowl that was double boiling, right? So from here I just need to keep beating until we have a soft or stiff peaks which is also glossy. It's a mid check again. It's not very stiff yet, but then it is not flowy like how it was before. As you can see, I'm going to continue beating this for 2 more minutes or until I have the texture from this stage change to a little more stiff peaks. So I'm just going to check back again to see if peaks are formed. So you can see it is soft peaks, but we really don't need perfect stiff peaks for the Swiss Meringue Buttercream. But then because we also need it glossy and shiny, so at this stage I'm just going to start adding the butter. Now to add the butter, if you're using a stand mixer like how I'm using, then you need to just switch over to using the paddle attachment, because for the whites we want to incorporate quite a bit of the air, and so we're just using the wire whisk and then to change to paddle before adding the butter. Now if you're using a handheld beater, it doesn't matter, you can just use the same beater to continue and add the butter as well. Now I'm just going to let the beater running and then start adding the butter 1 cube at a time as it keeps beating on medium high speed. In the process it could start looking it is curdled, but just don't have to worry. You just need to continue beating it for in medium high speed. Furthermore, beyond that curdle stage, you're just going to have the beautiful texture of the buttercream. So you just need to keep beating. I'm also at this stage adding the vanilla extract. I still have some more butter to add. I just wanted to check down and then show how it is going to look like at this stage. So when you have something like this, you really don't have to panic. Soupy mixture that is all looking curdled with some of the butter just not incorporated yet. So don't have to panic at this stage like that. What we need to do is to continue beating on high speed. So I'm just going to add the rest of the butter on high speed and then keep beating. I'm just stopping to check and show how it looks after all the butter has been added up. It is still not very creamy yet, it's just kind of flowing from the bottom of the bowl and all that. But then let's continue beating this again until we have a beautiful texture of the Swiss meringue buttercream. So now you can see the buttercream is just beautiful. It won't just be flowing from the bottom of the bowl. Okay, you can just see the eggless Swiss meringue buttercream, super smooth and creamy. Okay, so you make the buttercream just before you are ready to frost your cake. Obviously the cakes and all that is part of the pre-prep. You have to be making them ahead of time or even the previous day. But buttercream you make just before you have everything set and ready for layering. So you don't have to really make this ahead of time and then store it to be used the next day. That's not advisable. So you just have the buttercream. Maybe you could just transfer it into another bowl and then leave it in room temperature, or when you're just right there ready with your sponge to have it frosted. Okay, so this I'm just going to smooth it and then transfer it into another bowl, and then let me get back to show you how I'm going to use this buttercream to layer a cake.